Peeking down the pitch-dark, curving downward emergency staircase, Simone signals for her fiancé to follow, before descending in a hurried silence. The sounds of weapons have completely silenced by this point, but that doesn't mean the situation is any less urgent. As she carefully cracks open the stairway door to the floor below, she listens intently for any sound for either people fleeing or aggressing. There's distant muffled cries of scared young, but she doesn't believe that's where the weapons fire originated from. Still, probable malicious weapons going off anywhere near children was concerning enough. Slowly, she leaned out of the door to get a better idea of where to go. A lightly armored individual of the Moona people stands guard outside a door. They are one of the most rarely seen Deathworlder species due to their comparatively low population and singular inhabited planet. Rather isolationist because of their risky biological reproductive process and need to maintain a healthy population, they generally only engage with the wider galactic community in a fairly limited capacity, despite being a member-class species of Central itself. Although modern medical technology greatly aided in their people's stability, their heavily traditionalist culture has feared becoming too reliant or even outright dependent on it. Simone has only met less than a handful of Moona in her time, but has no experience facing one in combat. Although having a very similar body plan, there could be at least another head taller than a Terran, with greater upper muscle mass. The top sides and back of their skulls are thick rows of fleshy padding, meaning strikes to the head are limited to the face. Their two nimble legs are akin to that of Terran horses, and can most likely give a similar wallop if the redhead wasn't careful. Charging them without a sufficient weapon isn't a great idea. Even if she manages to get close enough to negate the use of the pulse rifle in their hands, this opponent has superior reach and comparable strength to our own. However, their long arms mostly likely didn't have the same quick reaction time hers did. She needed to completely get the jump on them. The princess, now next to her, taps at her side to get the redhead's attention. Once she has it, she points for Simone to stand aside from the door. "Be ready," she whispers in a tone that reveals she indeed has a plan. Biting her inner cheek, Simone nods. Chuck then peeks herself a bit too much at the door and shouts, "What's going on? I'm getting the authorities," she claims, before running down more stairs. Almost immediately, Simone can hear a much heavier set of hooves giving chase to hunt the witness down. Just as the Moona passed through the doorway and took aim down the stairs at the Callie's back, Simone leaps up, wrapping an arm around the being's neck. Then with her own mass, twists the both of them to the floor. With her legs, she quickly restrained her opponent's retaliating arms, and kept their air intake sealed. Before the Moona could start firing their rifle in desperate retaliation toward their friends, Chuck comes rushing back, and with her augmented strength from her modified power suit, yanks it free and takes aim in case Simone lost her advantageous grip. In a minute of stifling struggle, the Moona passes out completely, but still alive. Simone can end it then and there, but since she is still out of the loop of what exactly is going on, she determines to not risk it, taking the stranger's life. Rolling the unconscious body away from her, Simone grasps the Callie to keep the rifle as they hurry out into the hall and to the previously guarded door. The two can already hear chattering of voices, one seeming to be dominating the conversation. "That's what you get for being difficult. Now, if you know what's good for you and your guests, I suggest you comply," an avian creaker voice chatted. "My father raised no craven," a deeply toned Zaktuk responded as though recovering from a recently given injury. "Precisely. He raised a spoiled brat who passes off the drowning vices," the creature uttered, as Simone cracked the door just enough to get a view inside. A massive 9.5-foot tall nude male Zatuk kneels in the centre of the somewhat disheveled hotel room. Although not as grand as the one Simone and Chuck have, there's a clear upper-class vibe to it all, with similar quality offerings. The hostage himself appeared to be the far rarer but bodily superior form of the species, like the difference between worker and army ants. Also, unlike the far more common form of the species, his muzzle is capped with an upper beak horn, and atop his head was 4 sets of stubby but sharp flaring horns. One of the largest sets is severely chipped from a recent blow. Up against the left wall were 7 other more standard 6-foot size Zatuk guests, though it's clear by their state that the interrupted activities that were taking place wasn't all that different from their upstairs neighbours. Although the Zartuk species are not the sort to easily cower from such threats, they know the four-armed corps of mercenaries pointing rifles at them had a fair chance of putting them down without much trouble. A Thakmor mercenary stood behind the large Zartuk, their tendril grasper securing the dino's arms behind his back. The apparent Krieger leader confidently walked past his prisoner to the nearby wall. "But I cannot fault you, as you're clearly not short of gene-hungry concubines. I wonder if one would be interested in a more traditional form of payment for services. I'll certainly have the funds to spare after this job," the hunched avian intruder said, as he stepped up to a more standard Zartuk, that's still twice his size. The female opened her mouth slightly and released a hiss. Fear of the weapons trained on her melted away in an instant from the insinuation. "I'd rather be permanently stripped of my feathers, you egg-scavenger filth," she growled, eyeing the non-Deathworlder like an edible pest, before the 6 others joined in on the hisses and stares. Although clearly spooked by the response as his own back feathers bloomed wider in display, the Krieger stepped forward again. "Or I deliver you lot to the Truber meat markets instead," he hissed back, as his 4 tendrils snapped at the group. "Ironic, yes? To be the species with the largest stranglehold on the galactic meat market, only to be butchered and served up in one. No? Still preferable to a paid hunt with you," the female barked in a laugh. The large male huffed a hiss and chuckle at his mate's words, before the Thakmor fitted on proper tight wrist restraints. Snapping his beak at the group, the Krieger tilted his head to the kitchen area. "Sonla, get out of there. We're extracting," he notified towards the kitchen area. Scrambling out from scavenging the contents, a Varuk stamped over with her own extensive steak treasure in her fanged snake-like mouth. Although being the smallest known sapient species, the Terra knee-high monkey-shaped reptilian stomped her heavily plated forearms and fists into the floor in a display of superiority to the restrained prisoner. Then, in an upward jerking motion, she swallows the slab of premium flesh down her gullet. "Big Shot Ambassador Sunny's gonna get us a bigger prize. I'm gonna buy so much big shot meat. Nothing but high-class stuff for me." She cackled, stamping her fist again in excitement, before activating her comm below one of her dark grey eyes. "Secure the big guy. Bring the shuttle around," she orders. "If you really believe you can ransom me, then you severely underestimate my father," the Zartuk comments. "We'll be long out of central space by the time he even notices your absence," the Krieger disregards, as the contacted shuttle drops right next to the windowed wall. From the opening side of the craft, 2 MiGs began cutting through the window material with specialized tools. He then turns back at the females in consideration. "Now, what to do with the concubines?" he muses in a dark tone. "Maybe we shouldn't risk them squawking about us faster than expected." "Abhort, there's no need to hurt or take them. They have not resisted. And leaving them has been planned for. Just tie them up and leave as we agreed," the female Varuk scolds. The look in Abrot's small ice blue eyes doesn't change, but he diverts his attention away to the escape route. "Gonna be a bit of a gamble, but I need you to cover me," Simone whispers to Chuck, as the window opening is created, and the Thakmor pulls the Zartuk to his feet and begins dragging him towards it. "Got it," the caddy agrees a bit nervously, but readies her rifle nonetheless. Lifting her new armored jacket up to protect the side of her head that will be exposed to the rifle Korv in the room, who seem to be set to depart last to make sure the other remaining Zartuk don't try anything. Then, with a preparatory breath, Simone throws the door open and charges for the kitchen area. She dives behind a solid counter before the Korv are able to respond with pole shots that decimate the cupboards and provide a cookware hanging from the wall. The Krieger screeched in surprise before scrumming past the Thakmor to rush into the shuttle. Trying to resist by headbutting the fellow Deathworlder, keeping hold of him, the large Zartuk failed to free himself before his throat was lashed by the Thakmor's tendril, and he was turned to be used as a getaway shield. Dragging the dino behind, the Thakmor entered the shuttle as well, and with a screech from the Krieger, it began to pull away from the window. Chuck took a shot at one of the Korv firing upon Simone's position to draw attention away. Both her pulse shot and goal achieved their mutual intentions, as the Korv's arm is blown apart, and the 3 others turned to the door. But before shots can be returned, a female Zartuk yanked the injured insectoid's rifle away from it, and then starts to bludgeon them with it. Immediately following her example, the 6 others spring out to the remaining 3 foes, like raptors in a critically acclaimed terror movie, about the foolish resurrection of their prehistoric animals. Simone took this moment to bolt again towards the shuttle. "Ladies," she finger-guns them all as she passes by. "Aberrant!" Sonia cries out in terror, as the shuttle departed without her, and now flies further than she could leap. "Aberrant, don't leave me!" she begged, knowing her incoming dino snack fate. Then, thundering up from behind her, a Terran ran at her top speed towards the window. Simone's heart pounds in an adrenaline-fueled daredevilry as she launched herself off the ledge of the window. Below her was a fall immeasurable by eye, and the shuttle pulled away more and more in her flight. Her arms slam against the roof of the craft, causing it to jostle slightly. Seeing the door fully sealed shut, Simone gets a grip on the vehicle's architecture and completely pulls herself to the roof. "What in the actual fuck are you doing, Simone?" she internally screams at herself, as she feels the shuttle accelerate and the roaring wind thrash at her. Feeling more drag than she would have expected herself to cause, the redhead peeks back to see that she herself has a stowaway passenger. The Varrook seems to have grabbed into her leg before the leap, and is now wrapping around it like an exercise weight. Lifting her other leg to kick the kidnapping pest off of her, Simone hesitates. The small individual is already struggling to hold on, while hyperventilating, in trembling fear of inching closer to death. Then, arguing with herself while doing it, Simone releases one of her own hands to reach down and take hold of the Varrook's forearm. The Varrook reflexively squeezes the Terran's leg tighter. "Please don't throw me off. I'm sorry. Just doing the job to eat. I'm sorry," Sauna pleads, against the near-deafening wind. "I'm trying to save you, idiot. You're dragging my shoe off," Simone shouts, just so she doesn't have to further compromise her only grip on the fleeing vehicle. The female Varrook glances up. "Promise about your hatchlings?" she asks. "Yes," the Terran vows, as she tugs at the lizard Molly's arm. Then, with far too much trust in an enemy's word, Sonla closes her eyes and probably lets go of the Deathworlder's leg. There was a moment she felt open air with the feeling of her perishing moments upon her. But instead of the sensation of free-falling, she felt the press of something solid, with something warm and dense securing her in place. Along with the wind, she felt the pounding of her mammalian heart against the side of her head. Chuck stood at the opening of the window, watching the shuttle completely disappear with her fiancé. A few moments later, the lights of the hotel are restored and her comm jams. "Thorn? Brandy? Devin? Simone needs assistance. We witnessed a kidnapping and she's currently on the roof of a fleeing shuttle," she communicates. But instead of a voice message, she only receives a text message from Devin. "Understood. Sorry, something has come up and we can't get there. We are sending central authorities to follow her signal. Are you safe? Do you need us to send Troy and the Grat to secure your way back to the apartment?" Chuck looks back at the now dripping neon blue muzzles and claws of the 7 Zatok females now approaching her. "Oh, hello. Does anyone require medical attention?" she asks a bit awkwardly. The female who initially attacked tilts her head, dripping more blue fluid from her flesh-carving teeth to the floor. "We are well. You've come to my husband's aid. Why?" the female asks. "Oh, well, we heard the weapons fire from a floor above and came down to see what was happening. When we did, well, we had to do something," Chuck explains. "I see. Are you not concerned for your Terran friend? That stunt she pulled. Rather insane," the Zatok points out. "That's just how my fiancé does things, but yes, even for her that was bold. I hope it's not too rude to request this, but do you have access to a personal shuttle?" Chuck inquires. "We do. I'm admittedly surprised to be proposing this, but care to join us on a hunt, Callie?" the female counters with a hiss. "Most certainly," Chuck nods, before writing a message back to Devin. "I'm fine. In fact, I'm giving pursuit with capable company." Troy, what I say? Nodrin panics, as they stare at the screen at a pivotal point of a simulated romantic relationship building vid game. Troy lazily perks up as he lays face down on the couch, opposing the playing Grat. "Friend, you can't romance all of them," the Terran repeats in an earlier statement gently. Nordrin's eyes narrow in a mix of disgust, disappointment, and sheer determined spite. "But why? Becky wished to live with roommate Taylor forever, but also fled with me. Taylor makes everyone much pastries and everyone much like Taylor. Even Taylor's ex-prom mate Anastasia. They're close still and be together again if not for me arriving, because now both like me too. Now dark and mysterious Stefan is opening up and expressing interest on the Ferris wheel. Stefan needs support and friend circle. All happy if romance me, or live together. They argue before selecting what they think is the best dialogue option to win over Stefan's heart. It is working so far. Yeah, Miki agrees, as she rests with her head on Nodrin's lap. All problems are easily fixed with all bonding as a household. Well, sure, but what if Stefan doesn't want to romance Becky? Troy points out. Then, not do that? Nodrin answers, as if it was a trick question. Most interest in romance isn't me. Others in bond group don't need romance each other. Is why I said friend circle. Huh. So that's usual for your people? Troy asks. Yes. Grat in bond groups not all required to share same relationships. All sleep in pile together, but that is not romantic gesture. That is sleep. 4 in group can want children together with each other, but 10 others in same group to them can be simply dear ones that not want children. All share partnership in life, but different in feelings. Bigger bond groups can be complex, but no less normal. Much normal, Nodrin answers. Troy crosses his arms under his chin in thought. A bit different from how my people tend to do things. More exclusive, I guess. Feelings can get messy with us sometimes. You know, like jealousy, bitterness, guilt and such. The more Terrans, the more chances of things souring. But hey, polygamy is not unheard of, and my people can make it work just fine in a lot of cases. I'm guessing you understand, though. Being kind of the opposite in the Grat general culture, right? You two seem very exclusive to each other, he says. I suppose. Yes, you have point, Nodrin shrugs. Miki lifts a hand up to caress the side of her cherisher's face. All I ever need was Nodrin. They are much of my life since day we met, she agrees. Nodrin rubs their face into the hand, closing their 4 eyes happily. I am satisfied with Dearest now and forever, they tenderly counter. But we not bond with no one else because we resist, just that it not happen. We travel much, and there was no such bonding with anyone either us met, Miki explains. But our bond group no less wonderful than big one. Simple has beauty too. Troy nods. Sure, but what about Grad that don't want a bond mate group at all? Is that a thing? He asks curiously. Both Grad make the same look of inward recollection. It is much rare, but exists. Never met such a Grat. Such makes me feel sad, but if Grat is happy, then that is the best for that Grat. Nodrin replies honestly. And community still accept. No reason not to. Neat, Troy remarks, before looking up at the screen again, full well knowing Nodrin is heading towards the second worst ending in the game, where everyone gets mad and leaves the player character. Sitting up, Troy holds out his hand for the controller. Here, I have an idea to help you out, he offers. Without questioning it, Nodrin hands over the controller. Troy saves the game several times before exiting, and connecting to a specific net site that draws the attention of both Grat immediately, as many of the selections show preview images of the romance game Terran characters completely nude, and with extremely abnormal body proportions. Miki also notices things from other games the 3 of them have played thus far, placed into the romance game. Troy then jumps to a specific selection stated as Full Polyamory Option Edition, downloads it and donates a fee towards the one who created it. There you go, he says, as he gets back and reopens the game, hoping that nothing became corrupted. Once it booted up just fine, he holds the controller back to Nodrin. Gotta love mods, he quips, as the confused Grat accepts it. Continuing on, roughly an hour later, Nodrin completes the edited ending to the Vic game. A few visual glitches occurred, and understandably most of the rewritten dialogue didn't have any accompanying voice. However, the Grat playing seems to be giddily satisfied with it regardless. Much thanks, Troy, they say, once the credits begin rolling. No worries, you two up for another game? The Terran inquires, as he flicks through his library. No thanks, much fun, but mind tired, Miki replies, as she stretches out all her limbs. Body not, though. I share feeling, Nodrin agrees, before dragging their claws through Miki's head fur. Really? We shouldn't do anything too crazy with your injuries. I guess we can try to set up a race or some... Troy starts to say, before a pillow is flung and collides right into his face. War it is, then. Grabbing the pillow, he swings it down right for where Miki was, but catches only Couch as she preemptively scampers. Looking around with his brandished weapon of soft fluff, the Terran glances around for an ambush from the other Grat. Right as he suspects, Nodrin leaps from the other side of the couch right for Troy's back. In a tight turn, he fully blocks the downward swing and casts the green person harshly down on the soft furniture, and hams his pillow down on his foe. Before mercy can be declared, Miki jumps and snags the man's weapon in her claws, and distracts him long enough for Nodrin to roll away and swing their pillow right for Troy's gut. In defensive reflex, he releases his weapon to grab hold of Nodrin's as it impacts against him. Yet that only gave the initially accoster the freedom to pull her new pillow to pull tightly around the man's face in attempts to drag him down. If anyone were to witness the occurring events without context, they would think that a murder is taking place. Troy stumbles back and manages to rotate to brace against the couch. Reaching back with a single arm, he takes hold of Miki's shirt, but can't get the leverage to pull her free. Meanwhile, Nodrin dashes over to their bedroom and pulls out a blanket as a potential tool of victory. As Troy and Miki wrestle for dominance, Nodrin tosses one end of the sheet to Miki, who snatches it with ease. Then, in a speedy looping, Nodrin wraps around the Terran twice before pulling tight and launching themselves right at the bundled man. Granted, Miki was now tied up as well, but she has no regrets going down with the ship, as the three collapse up and over the couch again. This time, however, Troy manages to crawl out of the blanket partially before twisting in a sitting position to start swinging his free pillow at the two others. Miki is easy prey, but Nodrin proves to still be able to defend themselves by lifting up a loose section of blanket. "Oh shit, guys, I just got the best idea ever," Troy suddenly says in realization, pausing his counterattack. "What is?" Miki asks, as she curiously asks as she perks up. "A blanket fort. We can watch movies in it before hitting the sack," he proposes. "Blanket fort," Miki mumbles, as she processes the concept. "Are we not already hitting sacks?" Nodrin points out. "Sorry, I meant go to sleep," Troy clarifies, before thundering over to the Gratch room. "We can use your bed as a brace for the fort. Come on, always wanted to do this," he encourages. "Alright, but what is blanket fort?" Miki asks, as she scrambled out from the blanket mess. "I've only seen it done in media, when I was a kid, but fuck that, I do what I want. But basically we build a tender source with blankets and put down a bunch of pillows as the floor. Then we set up a small movie player and relax. This place's closet is stocked with pillows, literally no better time to do it." Both the Grat sets of eyes expand in surprise, as they realize that the Grat do something similar. "Oh, alright, sounds like much fun," Nodrin inputs, as they begin to return the blanket to the room it was borrowed from. Troy walks in and grabs a decorative but tall pole of a light fixture. "Nodrin, start collecting blankets and pillows from the closet. Miki, help me with the initial roof here," he says, as they set to work to construct their mighty fort. And what a fort it is! A few exposing holes in the crossing draped ceiling, and they all may have overcompensated with the pillows by quite a bit. Also, the exit entrance was really wherever one could squeeze through, without toppling the entire thing. After setting up the movie player and watching a Cape Crusader fight a crazy mime, Troy is surprised to realize that both Grat had eventually cuddled up on either side of him, wrapping their arms and tails around his own limbs in a manner he has only seen them do with each other. After the third movie came to an end, Troy shifts slightly. "Alright guys, I should probably leave you to it. Time to get to bed," he says. "You can stay if you like," Miki chitters softly, for the Terran translator to report. "We don't mind, but if you're not comfortable, you won't keep you," Nodrin chitters from the Terran's other side. "Nah, I'm cool. Cuddle piles are awesome. It's just, you two are together and I don't want to make things weird," Troy explains. "We don't want to make things awkward between all of us either," Nodrin assures. "But this isn't weird for us." "We both quite enjoy your presence, Troy, and this is normal for Grat, even outside bomb groups," Miki explains. "Oh, cool. Yeah, I like hanging out with you guys too, you get me?" The Terran shrugs, before fully bringing himself to rest. After a few silent moments in the dark blanket fortress, Troy feels claws brushing through his head fur before they pull away. "We may still end up making this weird, but what if we were to, well..." Nodrin trails off before tackling the topic again. "I'll just say it as it is. Troy, Miki and I believe we are developing feelings for you. Close feelings. We want to know if you are interested or have similar feelings. We know we aren't Terrans, so we understand if you don't, but we want to be honest with you. If you're not, we promise to leave it at that." There's another gap of silence, as Troy's mind fully processes that. "Whoa. Wasn't expecting that," he admits, though clearly in a simple, earnest surprise. "We've been trying to convey interest without being too forward," Miki notifies. "Yeah, no, I guess it went over my head. I mean, I started suspecting something like that, but being different species and all, I didn't really think you two would actually be into me like that. Huh. So, I mean, yeah, I like you guys. Sorry, I really wasn't expecting this. It would be my first attempt at something with more than one person. But yeah, I'm down to see if it goes somewhere. No hard feelings if it doesn't work out, the man says, his face flushed in the darkness. We will not hold you in something if you ever change your mind. It's understood that grab relationships are not quite the same as Terrans, but I'm excited to hear you like us too, Nodrin assures, as their flat face presses into the side of Troy's neck. Meanwhile, Miki slowly lifts herself up and turns on a faint light from the movie player, while leaning herself up against the Terran's torso. Nodrin and I are obviously perfectly familiar with ours, but at what pace do you usually find yourself comfortable with in relationships? No matter what it is, we will respect it, she reassures, not wanting to rush things from the Terran's perspective. Well, I guess I'm pretty balls to the wall about it. I think I can be a bit too intense for most people. Not that I don't mind taking things slow. But if I'm investing, I'm invested, you know, Troy answers, before his heart skips hard, as Miki orientates herself on top of his waist, while Nodrin promptly slips a hand under his shirt. In that case, Troy, would you be interested in trying to... Fuck my ass, Simone growls in cursing anger and relief, as she feels the shuttle finally slow to descend down. Fucking fuck, she adds, when she realizes that the craft is landing in an open grassy park at night. Another shuttle waits close by to make a transfer to refer off any who are notified of the original. Thankfully, the kidnappers are in a hurry to land, meaning she can release her grip from the shuttle and roll Odd to the non-door side to hide. Taking the Farouk with her, she clamps a hand around her reptilian mouth. I can break you with a single movement, but if you stay quiet, I'll have no reason to hurt you. Got it? The redhead whispers. Nodding slightly, Solna understands the position she was in, wanting nothing more than to live at the end of all this. Hurry up, the Creaker leader demands, with a snapping of his beak as the shuttle opens up. Who attacked us? Security? Didn't seem so. Terran was in dancing clothes. I'm guessing they were good Samaritans, the Thagmore replies, as he pushes the Zarthuk towards the next shuttle. Following them, 3 Mick mercenaries joins in for the switch. Stepping forward to loop around, the Terran accidentally steps on a hostage's long monkey-like tail as it knows he sways, causing her to squeal with her mouth closed. Who's there? The Krieger demands, followed by the sounds of activating pulse rifles. Shit, Simone scorns herself. Dropping the reptilian, she begins to hurry around for a gallon of a charge, but Solna is faster to get back on top the shuttle to expose herself to the others. It's me, Abront. I was close, but I made it, she announces. Sonla, the Krieger speaks in shock. How did you... You really held on that entire time? Simone pauses and looks up at the Farouk in anticipation of disclosing her. Not easy. Hurt my arm's bad, but... Why did you leave me? I thought I did really good, Solna genuinely asks. We don't have time for this. Just get in the next shuttle. Since you're here, you'll get your share after all. The Krieger dismisses the questions, without a second thought. You wanted my share? Solna counters deadpan. That's why you're so eager to leave me behind, right? We'll discuss this later. Be grateful we don't shoot you now and take your share anyways. Farouk like you are a dime in a dozen. Don't think you're not replaceable, the boss snaps harshly, before fully turning to enter the fresh shuttle. Solna looks down in a sad manner, reaching an armored clawed hand to massage her shoulder under a bit of drapery, before throwing a hidden ball device at her comrades. She then dives back behind the discarded craft, as the ball incites in an insanely bright flash of light, before releasing a non-lethal emission of localized concussive force. Boom! The little Varrock maniacally laughed.